All right, welcome everybody to Points of Interest. I'm your host Josh with the co-host
Terry Lee.
And tonight we're pretty excited because we're going to have a returning guest from Tipa Online. Would you care to introduce him for us?
Yes, it's a group called ghostquest Paranormal, and it will be Jeremy that we're talking to tonight.
Now, we're going to see if maybe Chris can Skype in to see if we could do like a joint conversation.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That's if Chris is available. All right. Well, I think my computer is friggin' haunted because I've had nothing but issues today. Google is not letting me log in. Yeah, so I think it's your fault, though.
I'll take the blame just this once, though.
Well, it was working fine until you're like, hey, let me try to log in. Yeah, we thought, well, that turned out. So anyway, I want to start off with something I do just about every show. I want to thank everybody for logging in, listening, supporting, and following us as we kind of continue to develop, grow, and try to get a little bit better, dealing with haunted computers and all. Now, we talked to these guys a little bit last Tuesday and kind of heard a lot of the stuff that they've done and been through. They're helping promote one of their clients' books from one of their investigations that they were on. Also, they have some really, really intriguing EVPs that we're going to be playing tonight and kind of doing the Terry Lee effect and whatnot with it. I love that nickname, the Terry Lee effect. You heard it here, guys.
There you go.
So what we're going to try to do right now, last time we tried to Skype him in, I couldn't call him. He had to call me, so I'm not too sure. I'm going to shoot him a message saying, you ready? Yeah. All right. Now, he posted it was 8 o'clock, so I'm hoping at 8 o'clock his time is 7 o'clock our time.
That is correct.
Otherwise, he's going to be calling at 8. And you know what, dude? We've moved on. It's all about us tonight, you know?
There you go.
Ready. Okay. Here we go. Call failed.
Okay,
That's what we had last time.
And that's interesting that it would fail going to him.
That's what was happening last time.
Yeah, I think it failed, 3 times last time, so.
Yeah, then he called us, and then it worked. So I wonder if the number I got from him was the wrong number.
It might have been.
Okay, he's going to be calling us. Hopefully it works, too.
Yay!
That's what was happening last time.
Yeah, I think it failed, 3 times last time, so.
Yeah, then he called us. Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, not bad. We're just dealing with a haunted computer right now, so yeah, something to do with Google and Terry Lee. Just not a good combination at all. So
I hear you on that.
all right. So, we talked to you a bit last Tuesday, and we kind of learned a little bit more about you, but I'd kind of like for you to run through again, just kind of tell us who you are, what you're all about, and what you want to talk about on the show tonight.
Well, my name is Jeremy Leonard. I am the founder of ghostquest Para, based out of Ponchatoula, Louisiana. Our specialty is we try to deal with demonic cases, but we turn down no cases. I'm featured in a book called Out of the Darkness, and I will also be airing on the Discovery Channel in October on an episode of a show called Ghost Attack.
Brilliant. Okay, and where can people find you on all of your websites? Which one's the easiest to get a hold of you, Jeremy?
Well, we're working on a website right now. We don't have it up and running, but if people want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Facebook at ghostquest, one word, space Para, P-A-R-A.
Brilliant. And you had made mention on Tuesday that Chris might be able to join us. Do you want to try to Skype him in, or?
Sure. I'm pretty sure he's listening. So, Chris, if you're there, go ahead and try to Skype yourself in there, brother.
Yeah, we could go so many directions. go Skype yourself.
Yeah, I'm to step inside the circle.
There you go. He's probably throwing things at the wall right now.
Probably trying to conjure up something paranormal out of that too.
Oh yeah.
There's so many things. Okay, I'm gonna work on trying to find their files. If you just kind of
Okay, sure, we can do that. Now you have several featured on YouTube. Is that the material that you wanted to discuss tonight, or did you have some additional ones that you'd like to let our followers hear?
No, I mean we could go through the cases of Mountain Herman on there. Our YouTube channel is ghostquest Para, P-A-R-A Ponchatoula. If anyone out there listening wants to check it out.
Okay, and can you briefly set us up as far as this particular session goes? How many people were there? What was the room, the atmosphere of the building? Can you kind of give us a little bit of a background on it?
Sure. Her name is Joy Stinson. She went to the Myrtles Plantation in St. Francisville in 2010. Her and a couple of her co-workers, it was supposed to be a friendly girls' night out. On the front porch of the plantation, she captured an orb, and inside the orb it had a face. And she soon became obsessed with this picture upon returning home. It took her attention away from her house duties, cooking supper, so on and so forth. She was totally focused on this orb that she captured. And unfortunately, by doing that, what she done was she opened up a door. And unfortunately, you can't control what comes through the door. Well, about 2 or 3 weeks after returning home from the plantation, her and her 3 daughters started experiencing paranormal activity by an entity they called the Boss. They even gave it a name. They called it the Boss. We got a call one night from a friend that told her about us on Facebook. I was with another group at the time. So we went up there the very next day. It's about a 45-minute drive from where we're at. It's back in the country. I mean, this is when you picture the country. Well, this is the country.
Okay.
So anyway, when we went there, I'll never forget whenever I walked through the door and I met Joy for the first time. Obviously, you could tell she had been up for days. I mean, she had no concept of reality, where she was. I mean, when you would look at her, it's like she's looking at you, but at the same time, she still doesn't see you. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she was deprived of sleep and everything. Well, she told us a brief story about what was going on. And after talking to her, I grabbed a K2 meter, which measures electromagnetic fields. It's a device that we use to help locate where spirits may be.
Mm-hmm.
I went around the back part of the house, and there's a hallway that goes right down the middle of the house. There's an old house, and a new house was built onto the old house.
Oh, okay.
So it had a hallway straight through the middle where the new house and the old house combined. So I'm walking down the hallway, and as I passed the master bedroom, I got a real uncomfortable feeling. So I continued on, and right across from the master bedroom, if you turn left, there is a bathroom. And I mean, it's a huge bathroom. There's like a big double sink vanity, and there's like this mirror all the way across one wall. Well, as I make the turn into the bedroom, my K2 meter spikes. And it pegged all the way out to red. It held there for about 3 seconds or so, and then it stopped. Well, at that point, I happened to look up, and to my right into the mirror, I see, if you would want to call him a man, but I don't call him a man, he was about 6'5", maybe 7 foot tall. And
Wow.
what made him very unique and really stood out was his arms were extremely long. As he was standing straight up, his arms come way past his knees.
Wow.
And his fingers were twice as long as a normal person's fingers would be. And his head was shaped like an egg. And his face was real distorted looking. Well, I knew right at that moment we weren't dealing with just an ordinary spirit. We were dealing with something that's non-earthbound.
Yeah, definitely.
So I kind of made a couple cuss words and made my way through the kitchen to where they were. And she was just telling my partner at the time what this man looked like. And whenever I come in, I describe it to a T, and I mean both their jaws just dropped to the ground. Well, we decided that we would come back and do a full-blown investigation that following weekend. I think this happened like on a Wednesday night. We showed back up on a Friday night. And I remember one thing in particular when we were investigating, all our equipment batteries would die really fast. We did not really catch a whole lot as far as evidence goes that night, other than we were doing a spirit box session in the master bedroom, which is where I seen him standing. We asked it what did it want, and it said kids. It repeated it 3 times. It said kids, kids, kids. Well,
Wow.
I said, you're a pervert, because it was messing with her children. I don't know if your listeners know what an incubus was, but I think this is what we were dealing with.
Wow.
And it said F you 3 times straight. Well, that's about the only evidence that we really caught that night, except for, a few anomalies here or there. But anything that really stood out, that was it. I stayed in contact with her after the investigation. She would call me and send me pictures and stuff and ask my opinion about it. And I would tell her, well, when she got ready to sell the house, she had moved everything out. She contacted us and she said, look, I sold the house. I moved everything out. Would y'all like to come and do an investigation, to try to verify what's going on here? Because she even had to state when she sold the house that the house was haunted.
Oh, wow.
I mean, her story was well known around her area. A lot of people thought she was nuts. A lot of people thought she was crazy. But this is a very educated woman. She is an RN. So she is a very educated woman, really down to earth once you get to know her. So we come in that night. And I had just farmed Ghost Quest, literally. And the only thing we went in with was an old school digital recorder and some cameras. That's it. I had a psychic medium. Her name is Gail Fontenot. She is one of the founders of the, I think it's Ghost Chatter, which is where people that have, questions about, need consulting on the paranormal, they go to this website and the mediums or whatever gives them advice.
Oh, okay.
So she come down. And we went through the house, and we were standing in her master bedroom, and Gail had asked if it was okay to do a prayer, to protect ourselves before we got started, and she said sure. So Gail starts doing the prayer, and soon after the prayer, I had set my digital recorder in the closet, on the shelf, because there was no furniture in the room. So shortly after that, we caught an EVP that says, fucking leave me. Like that. Very vivid, very hateful in nature. We didn't hear it at the time, obviously. I actually had that video and that audio on YouTube. If anybody wants to check that out. We played it Tuesday night. Do y'all still have it?
Yeah, I actually got all 3 files. That was emailed to me, and I'm also pulling up your YouTube channel right now. So...
Yeah, he's over here just a clicking away, trying to catch up to us. So now tell me, did the original person that called you in for the investigation, you made mention that she was kind of discombobulated as far as being consumed by all of the paranormal activity. In the time that it took you to come, do the original investigation and then come back and do the final one in an empty home, had she come back around since having moved out into another location?
Well, yeah, what they had to end up doing was they had to end up actually doing an exorcism on her. See, here's where the story gets a little bit deeper. Prior to 2010, about 4 years prior to that, she had went to Honduras on a church mission trip. She is a vowed Christian. She's very strong with her faith. She went to Honduras, and there was a guide, that led foreigners around the town, because you don't go to a strange country without guides or whatever. But he was a local. And he offered to take her and another woman and another man, which was also from Honduras, on a tour around the town. Well, her and her tour guide kind of got separated from the other group, and she said that they led her into a hut. There was just a bench on the hut, and there were 6 other men in the room. Now, this gets a little, crazy, so prepare yourself.
Yeah, it sounds a little dicey leading up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took advantage of her, all 7 of them, and she was a virgin at this point. Like I said, Joy is very religious, very strong with her faith. And they took advantage of her, all 7 of them. And as they were doing this, they put markings on her body and blood. And afterwards, they told her they were allowing demons to enter her body. Okay, she was engaged to be married. You're in a foreign country. What are you going to do, right? So she just kind of dealt with it, put it on the back burner, returned home, got married, went on with her life, and had children. Well, she said that before she went to the plantation, that small things would happen around the house, nothing to really be alarmed about. They even joked at one time, oh, you got a ghost in your house. They thought it was funny. Well, whenever she went to the plantation now, this is when the activity really, really picked up. And, I mean, she has video files and pictures. She well documented everything that was going on because she wanted to prove that she was not crazy. There was one point that she literally thought she was crazy, and they even put her in a mental institution at one point because they thought she was crazy. Well, come to find out, she wasn't crazy after all. So they done an exorcism, and what they done was, after the exorcism, we took all the relics from Honduras, and we put it in a pile back there, and they burnt it. Okay, I was not there for this, when this happened. But our last investigation is when something clicked in my mind, and I said, Joy, where did y'all burn the relics at? And she told me. I said, well, did y'all get rid of the ashes? Because some studies that you do, it says when something like that goes, you have to remove the ashes off the property. Kind of, so I went, and the guy that actually performed the exorcism was there that night, and we went to where it was, and we done a prayer, and he blessed the ground with oil, and there was like this loud clicker in the woods right after he done it. Like something just kind of took off through the woods. Now, it could have been a dog or a rabbit or something. I don't know for sure. But after that incident, after we sealed the portal, so to speak, nothing has happened since. And this has been, well, let's see, we done this in January, so it's almost a year. Everything's been calm. But I like to also state, the night that I actually saw this thing with my own eyes, I didn't realize it at the time, but when I got home that night, I pulled off my shirt, and I looked in the mirror, and I had 3 scratches on my back. So my theory is when the K2 meter spiked, it was standing right behind me, and it scratched me. One of the things that plagues me about this case is, why did it choose me? Why did it show itself to me? Was it because it thought I was vulnerable? Was it intimidated by me? Or was he trying to intimidate me? And unfortunately, that's the answer I don't think I'm ever going to get.
Yeah, those are kind of questions that do remain unanswered, unfortunately.
Yes. And that's something that I still think about every day. Every day I think about that.
I bet you would, too. So in this clip, let me see, which one have you got pulled up there, Josh?
I got all of them.
Okay. Which one do you want to start with? If you want to take us back through the timeline during this process.
I think, let's see, what did he put on there? Tell me the names of the clips.
What's the names of the clips, Josh?
All right. The first one I'm looking at says Spirit Box Tells All.
Okay, no, that's a different case, but that is a case that I do want to talk about later on.
Okay.
The clip that is going to be under Mount Hermon Case 001.
Okay.
Or it's going to say Joy on it.
Well, I see one that says New Mount Hermon Case. It's about a 14.5-minute clip.
No, these clips should actually be like very small clips, like a couple of seconds. That's the ones he sent the other day.
Oh, okay. You want me to play those files or to play the YouTube videos?
It'd probably be easier to play the files because the YouTube videos tend to be kind of long and you have to find the right spot. So if you can, just go with the files.
Absolutely. Just give me one moment. All right. So, yeah, I got Joy 1, Joy 2, and Joy 5 Boss.
All right, do the boss. I think that's the one where he speaks.
All right, just give me a minute so I could open it up with my fancy little program. It's way bad. Okay, it's not that fancy.
High tech, man, high tech.
All right, here we go. Let's see, open. Okay. And it's thinking. All right, here we go. Okay, so do you want me to loop the file like 3 or 4 times first and then go back and talk about it?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Let's try this again. All right, you want me to play it more, Terry Lee?
Yeah,
That's good. Let me explain to y'all what's going on in that situation. We're actually leaving the master bedroom, and we're walking down the hall. There's 2 men in the house, period, me and the camera guy. We're walking to what we call the clown room, which is one of their daughter's room. We call it the clown room because she's got balloons painted all on the walls in there. And the voice you hear screaming in the background is from an unknown person. Because, like I say, there was 2 men in the house at the time, me and the camera guy, and then there was 3 females. There was Joy herself, my fellow co-founder Tammy, and the camera guy. So we, as you could tell, we're talking, so we have no idea that this is even going on until I got back home and reviewed the tapes.
Okay.
And I was stunned, to say the least.
I still say that's frustrating. If you would have understood and known what was happening at the time it was happening, then you could react and respond to it and focus on it. It's always frustrating when you get home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right, and that's one thing that I have learned from this case is I always have a saying, knowledge is power when it comes to the paranormal. And so what we do now actually on cases is I wear special headphones that amplifies, and we also we do what we call flash EVP sessions, and we'll actually go over it on site, because if I can figure out what kind of haunting we're dealing with and where it comes from, then it's a lot easier for me to find a way to get rid of it. Instead of, going back home, going over everything and say, oh man, that what I did is not going to work. I got to go back and do it right. You just do it right then and there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I have the perfect solution for that sitting out in my driveway right now.
What you got?
We have a mobile unit and a mobile base.
You know what? That is something that I've actually talked about that. That's what I want to get an old school bus, man, and turn it into a mobile unit.
A school bus would definitely be cool. What I have is on the outside it looks kind of small. It's a 5x8 trailer, but we have everything you could possibly think of inside of it, minus a coffee maker.
So y'all kind of done what Ghost Lab did.
Yeah, kind of, but we kind of added our own little twists to it. Some of the ways we customized it and set it up with the reels for the surveillance cameras and the power supply and things like that. We put up a 50-inch monitor, 2 20-inch monitors, surround sound, desktop computer, so we could do instant review and the instant analyzing. Plus, we're working on audio fed to the trailer as well from each of the cameras, so you could hear what's going on instead of just seeing a screen with total silence. We're working on all kinds of different aspects of that. But
Yep, we're definitely a work in progress.
and it's nice for some cases, and it's nice for those locations like I can't remember what you called them on Tuesday, but the ones where you don't have to worry about taking care of somebody.
Right.
I can't remember the term you used for that, but it works out great for those kind of situations, but not so much residential, because we have Tipa research painted all over.
Right.
So if we park that in front of somebody's house, they're going to start looking up online. What the hell's Tipa research?
No, I actually call them kind of investigations, worry-free investigations. You talking about like plantations and things like that?
Yeah.
Because, and the reason I call it that is because when you do a residential, a lot of times you're their last resort. They're depending on you to help them, so that adds that that weight on your shoulders. And when you're dealing with a plantation or just a historic haunting site, you just go in there and just get as much evidence as you can, and it's not so much weight on your shoulders as trying to help this family.
Right.
Yeah.
And those kind of locations where you don't have a client to worry about. I mean, that's what I utilize as much as I can for training.
Right.
You got
Right.
somebody newer who's not quite as familiar with your equipment, or even if you got people who's been with your team for years, you still got to practice the basics over and over and over again to where it's more
Most
instinct.
definitely. I'm gonna tell you, it will never. You could be in paranormal investigating for 20 years, and you will never know it all.
That's true. I mean,
Well, the day we know everything, they ought to be kicking dirt in our faces, right?
That's right.
that's what I'm going to be chasing everybody else around. But see, I'm not going to be Mr. Nice Guy. I'm going to screw with people just like they screw with me now.
I was
You
going
know?
to say, more power to you, Josh.
No, I'm going to go into all their houses in the middle of the night and lift all the toilet seat lids. Make sure that only women live there. Just raise the toilet seat lids so when they get up in the middle of the night and fall in,
And
they're
it's
going
a
to be
big
clueless.
splash.
Yeah.
That's right. Then when they come out to you, say, "I don't know, that's paranormal."
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea what you're talking about. So, okay, I want to play this clip a couple of more times, and then we're going to actually apply what I call the Terry Lee effect to this. It's a modification we do through our board where it changes the pitch of
Right.
the EVP. And we actually stumbled across this on accident one time. We were screwing around, having fun, and somebody told me to turn on the sound. I think Terry Lee told me to turn on the sound effects and play the EVP. And everybody just about fell backwards in their chairs because you could actually hear the EVP better, which
Right.
really
Okay, that's
confused
awesome.
us. It doesn't work for all of them, but it does work for some of them. So I'm going to play the whole file a couple more times. Then I'm going to apply the Terry Lee effect. So
Okay.
here we go.
Let's say the about let's say the about
One more time.
let's say the about
Okay, so for the Terry Lee effect, I got to be really careful because it could blow out some speakers. So, so I'm going to run this a couple of times until I get the volume set right.
Okay.
Okay, so on this one, it really doesn't bring it out more, but yeah, there we go. Yeah, it sounds better unmanipulated in any way, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So, do you hear it? What do you hear?
I heard something move it at the very end. I could not make out the first part of it.
Okay, Jeremy, what did you say it said again?
I don't know what that one says. The other one that I want you to listen to says, I believe it says, "Just effing leave me," is what it says. Yeah, you hadn't played that one yet.
Yeah, was that Joy 1 or Joy 2?
I think it is 2. Try 2 and see what it is.
You got it. Once again, fancy program. Way bad. All right, let's see here. Unedited version. Here we go. Okay, now I'm hearing most of what you're hearing, Jeremy, except
Right.
to me it almost sounds like the last word says me.
Yeah, it does. It says, "Just fucking leave me," and it carries the word "me" out.
Right, that's what I'm hearing.
That's what I heard too.
Okay, now once again, do you want me to try the Terry Lee effect with this one?
Sure.
I would try it just to see. We're doing the comparable here.
Now, Jeremy, be aware that when you talk, when I have the Terry Lee effect on, you sound like a chipmunk.
I'll be quiet.
I just want to warn you. Okay, let's see. Turn it up just very carefully. I don't want to blow eardrums out. Here we go again. I could
Yep.
hear it.
Yep,
Yeah,
very
you
plain.
can definitely hear it with that.
All right, sorry, Jeremy. All right, you're back to normal now. Say something for me, Jeremy.
What?
There
I was
you go.
going to say you
All
scared him.
Think of how I felt when I got home and went over the footage.
Well, yeah, you said like a chipmunk when you responded, so I had to fix that real quick. So I actually did hear it quite well with that
Yeah.
effect. And all it is it's a pitch change. So it's just increasing the pitch, but not changing the speed at all.
Right.
So, but it's something fancy this mixer board does. So, low tech.
One day I hope to get low tech like that. Look, I'm actually, when it comes to editing and all that, like I say, I was on a team before, and I was just an investigator. So whenever I went out on my own, I had to take a crash course and all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, hey, I always put the offer out to anybody. If you ever need help or advice or whatnot, just give me a call. Shoot me a message. I'll happy to share what information I can with you. So.
Are you sure about that? Now, I might be blowing your phone up.
That's all right, because it does have a mute button. So, no, I've been investigating for 7 years, but most of it has been pretty much I was the primary person doing most of the things. So I had to learn how to do editing and multi-tracking, things like that. Photos, learning different ways of manipulating photos to see what works and what doesn't work. So I have a pretty good insight onto a lot of how things come together the easiest. So, speaking of which, when you listen to your EVPs, how do you clip them? What program do you use?
I use WavePad and Audio City.
Okay, which do you prefer, Audacity or WavePad?
Well, I'm Audacity, really. WavePad is what I started on, and then Chris, the founder of Paranormal Society in New Orleans, he told me about Audacity. So I'm still kind of playing around with that one a little bit.
Uh-huh.
It's fairly simple, but WavePad, I got that down packed, so I kind of use both.
Yeah. See, I've as far as the free programs go, I've always preferred WavePad, but Audacity is the more popular amongst investigators that I found.
Yeah, I think so
Right.
too.
But I think a lot of that has to do with, they first get into the paranormal, they get referred to use Audacity, so they learn that, and then they don't want to learn any other programs.
Well, I was going to say, and it doesn't.
Yeah, see, that's kind of how I am with editing. Which, if you watch our videos, our videos are very raw. They're very basic. I don't have cool sound effects like a lot of them do and all that. I try to keep my clips raw, so people can get a sense of what the real deal is, instead of adding all that sound effects and all that kind of stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, raw is definitely good. But, one of the things that I learned when I was getting into video editing was that people have a 10-second attention span. So
yes.
Within the first 10 seconds, if you don't have their attention, they're going to click on to something else.
You're right. I mean, see, my main goal is putting videos out is because when somebody's experiencing something paranormal, I put it out there for the fans, and I'm not going to say I don't, but I want people that, is thinking about calling us in to be able to look and see what our work actually is.
Right.
So they kind of get a feeling about, where you're going and everything like that.
Well, I tell you what, here's another offer I'll throw down to you, but you're going to have to do the majority of the work. Is that your phone?
No, that's not mine.
It's not my phone. Chris,
Might be
where are
paranormal.
you, Chris? Chris? Yeah, because my phone doesn't make that noise. But what I was going to say is, if you want to do an introduction video for your new clients, I would be happy to help you put one together to where it's not all flash and dash, whatever. But it's a professional. Here we are. This is my name. This is what we're all about. Here's a couple here's a couple of our past clients that can say things about how you guys investigate and how you conduct yourselves. And I could put together a really nice professional looking video for you guys to be able to use to help kind of get the
Man,
word out.
I'm truly grateful for that. Yeah, I think I'll take you up on that. I mean, look, there needs to be more people like y'all in the paranormal field. I mean, I say that from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate that.
Well, absolutely. And, that's the whole reason why the station came about is, we got tired of everybody always being just about themselves. And we figured it's time that it's about all of us. And so we're reaching out to other people who agree with the way we look at it. And fortunately, you are one of them. So we thank
Right.
you.
Yeah, you need the cooperation of, a whole village.
Yeah, pretty
Literally.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and down here especially, I mean, look, these paranormal groups are worse than 5-year-old kids fighting on a playground. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, teens will go to such lengths to try to hurt another teen to where it's just not even funny. And that's one of the things to where I worked alone because all the things that was going on. And then I met Chris Melanson, which is the founder of Paranormal Society of New Orleans, and he is on the same page as me. Look, we don't do this stuff to get famous or anything like that. I mean, look, there's 1,000 paranormal teams out there, It's
Right.
like winning the lottery to get a TV show. We do this to actually help people. There is no better feeling in the world than to walk into a house, look into a client's eyes, and see the fear that they are experiencing about what's going on, and you being able to go into that house and remove whatever is there. I mean, and they can never thank you enough. There is no greater feeling in this world than to experience that. And that is why we do what we do.
Absolutely. Now, on that note, I want to mention, I completely agree. You do not charge, residential clients. You do
No,
not
I
charge
never
for
charge
people.
anybody.
Right.
And
But
I think that if a client comes across a team that wants to charge them money or ask for money in any way, shape, or form, they should turn away.
they're the wrong team. Right.
Right.
That's
that should
Terry
throw a
Lee's
red
fault.
flag right there.
Now with that being said, to be a researcher, to be able to grow, develop, create new things or new approaches, there is financial costs involved with new equipment.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you have to pay for
Yeah,
certain
it
records
could get
and
very
things like that.
expensive.
So one of the things that I've done myself, and I know a lot of other local groups have done as well, is they hold educational investigations. In other words, they find a location, they invite a handful of people out for a small fee, and that fee usually is half for the location and half for the people conducting the class or the how-to session.
Right.
Now, as long as, this is the way I feel about it, as long as you're not charging a ridiculous amount and you're upfront about it,
Right.
then I don't see anything wrong with that because it's more of an educational type session. You're not really there to help them solve
Right.
one of their own problems.
Oh, no. I mean, I totally agree with this. One of the things that we're fixing to launch alongside with Paranormal Society in New Orleans, we're about to start a charity tour across the state, doing different locations. And we have a handful of huge locations down here that we've gotten access in, and we plan on doing a charity tour to raise money for the Children's Hospital, and we're going to try to kick it off with a huge Halloween party somewhere, and of course whatever expenses it costs us to throw this party we'll take back out, but
Right.
The main portion of it will go to charity. I feel strongly that you're in the paranormal. You're all about helping people, being a paranormal investigator. Now, whether that's helping someone in the paranormal realm or just helping people in general, I mean, that's what you need to be. Some people, and a lot of teams are the reason why people feel this way. They go and they give themselves a spooky name, and they're all tattooed up, and they all they look like some punk rockers. And when people are needing help and they feel that that they have nowhere else to turn, they don't want to turn to somebody that looks like
Who shows
they
up
could be
their doorstep.
possessed themselves. They want everyday average people to feel comfortable with, and I know everybody has their own taste and what they want to be called and so forth, but I think that kind of hurts us other paranormal investigators because it gives the wrong image of what a paranormal investigator is.
With that, I want to ask you, what is the difference between a paranormal investigator and a ghost hunter?
Well, a ghost hunter is just this, in my opinion. A ghost hunter is going to get his little camera and go out there and just try to find stuff to promote themselves. A paranormal investigator looks more on the scientific side of things. If he hears a bump in the night, he don't automatically say, "Oh my God, that's paranormal." A paranormal investigator is going to see if he could debunk that. Ghost hunters don't. Unfortunately, look, they get a little sound or something, they yippee yippee yay, we got something, you know. Paranormal investigators on the other realm, they take time to learn about the paranormal, which I mean by studying books, studying demonology, studying whatever it is you need to study on a paranormal field. Ghost hunters, I really don't see that. They're all about glorifying the paranormal field.
Right. I couldn't really have put it better myself. Usually when I think of the difference between a paranormal investigator and a ghost hunter, I always think in basics. A ghost hunter goes out just for the thrill. A paranormal investigator actually goes out to learn.
Well, to learn and to help the people that they're doing the investigation for.
Right. Now, I got a comment here in our chat room referring to you, Jeremy. It says, Jeremy is in no way about himself. He is a great person and always helping anyone who may need it. He is wonderful, as is Chris. I don't want to slaughter Chris's last name. So
Malazzo.
Okay. Then she put, I've learned so much from them both, especially a lot of blonde jokes. So we got to hear some blonde jokes.
I know who that is. I got you, Megan. I got your number. That is actually Miss New Orleans. She is with Paranormal Society of New Orleans. She holds the title of Miss New Orleans, and she is a fantastic paranormal investigator. I can't believe I just said that. Sorry, Megan. She is a phenomenal paranormal investigator. She takes it very serious, and she is a good person to have when you're in a situation, because she has no fear, which can be bad sometimes, Megan. She's still learning, but look, it's good to have her on her side. And matter of fact, she is coming up for her crown here in March. So guys, look, y'all, she has a thing that says fund me on her website. If it just takes $1 to donate, just think of how far $1 can go. It's called GoFundMe Megan Cars.
Okay.
It's Karhs.
All right.
Let's help her get the title back where it deserves so she continue helping people. By the way, she is a great humanitarian. She does a lot of work with the SPCA. She loves animals, a little bit too much sometimes, but she loves animals. And like I say, she is a great person that I am personally glad to call my friend.
Wonderful. Now, for Megan in chat, I want to tell you, if you're a Facebook user, look up Tipa Online, like our page, share your link with us, and we'll get you on the show, and we'll help push that so you'll get more and more people over to that page for you. And as far as you go, Jeremy, you were talking about doing that thing around Halloween where you're going to be doing that charity event.
Yes, sir.
Here's another offer for you, man. We're just throwing them out tonight. If you want to try to do a live broadcast from one of those events, stay in touch with me. We'll put it together so people could actually log in and listen from around the world to the charity event while you guys are doing it.
You know, that is awesome. I'm actually trying to work on something similar to that. I'm trying to get a website up, and I want to get it set up to where we could stream live from certain investigations, for the charity, to raise money for charity. I just think it's a great way for your fans to be able to interact with you, because let's face it, a lot of people are into the paranormal. I mean, they're just everywhere. I get stopped all the time when people say, "Hey, you that guy," and then they start telling you their stories, and you might be wanting to just hurry up and get out of there and get a cold drink, but without them, really you wouldn't amount to much. I mean, these people are what helps get the word out about you. So you always try to show love and support to, anybody that approaches you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you mentioned about going out and doing live broadcasts from investigations. We've actually done that.
Really? Does it work good?
Well, it depends on the location where you go to as far as your internet connection. Because if you're in an area where you really don't get a good signal, or if you don't have Wi-Fi, or if you don't have a strong connection, then it cuts out so much, people get frustrated, and they just usually
turn it
Bail.
off.
Find
Yeah.
something else to do. But if you're in an area with a good connection and you have somebody sitting at base monitoring your cameras, running chat, things like that, it can be very exciting and entertaining for them because we've had both successes and we've had failures.
But we won't talk about the failures, right?
And one of the things,
Yeah, let's talk about the good stuff.
one of the things we did find in areas where the connection wasn't that great is you just do everything as a pre-recorded. So, in other words, you do your interviews with the people there, you ask them about their experiences or their stories or whatnot, and then you could always play that back at a later time. So even though they
Right.
can't be there interactive right at the moment, they could still feel like they were part of it. So, just to throw that out.
Yeah, which worked out really well.
Yeah.
Just
So
food for thought.
we could help you with that as well. We're all
Oh, that
about,
is awesome.
we're all about helping.
There you
It's
go.
all
So-
about always meeting the right people. I mean, it's just so amazing how when you're in this field, you do have a lot of conflict between teams out there, but there are a lot of people out there that is so willing to help you move ahead to where it's just wonderful. I mean, you always seem to meet the right people at the right times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of it has to do with, I'll be pushing and pushing and pushing and going, and then I'll get to a point where I start to kind of feel like, am I really getting anywhere with this? Am I really helping anybody? Then all of a sudden, boom, something will happen to really just kind of reignite that fire for me.
Oh yeah, I could tell you that firsthand. You are
Yeah.
exactly right.
So, all right, we got Megan's thing posted on our Facebook page, and we'll work on more for her so we can get her some action going. And we want to.
Oh, I'm sure she's dancing around her room right now.
Good. She popped out and popped back in chat, so she must have got so excited she disconnected herself.
That is a blonde joke for you.
So yeah, okay. We've kind of gotten off track a little bit. We were kind of going over the EVPs. It looks like Chris has logged in, and then it looks like we lost him again. So, yeah, we're kind of just, people are popping in and out right now. But Megan's back with us, Lefty Utah's with us, and I'm with us. It's a good thing I'm here, right?
Yeah, really.
So, let's hop back into these EVPs. So we listen. I want to play that Joy 2 one more time, unedited. Just so I can hear that real strong statement. So here is Joy 2, and go. Just fucking leave me. You
Yeah.
could, by the way, you could
And
swear.
guys, let me tell you a little backstory about that actual EVP. That is one of the clearest EVPs that I have ever really captured. And it's almost one of them things that sounds too good to be true. And I actually sat on that for a long time, debating on whether I should go public with that or not. And I knew the book was coming out, so I knew eventually I would have to. But here's the thing. The recorder that I used that night, it's an old school recorder. It does not have a UBS plug on it. And I actually kept that recorder. It's sitting on my shelf. And the only investigation that is on that recorder is that house, because that was our very first investigation. Like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of equipment or anything. I went in there with basics. So, look, if anyone out there ever wants to doubt that EVP, I actually have the original recorder right there where you cannot be manipulated in no way, shape, or form.
If they doubt that EVP, they'll just have to deal with Terry Lee.
Yeah, that's right.
Terry Lee will take care of him. Don't worry about that. She got your back. Okay, now what I did with this EVP, I just kind of want to play around with a little bit. So one of the things I did is I ran the filter for hiss remover to reduce some of the hiss on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also lowered the volume of that last word where it sounds like me. So I'm just kind of curious to see if this helped, if this changed anything, or if it's just pretty much the same. So here we go. Yeah, see, that's a lot
more clear.
Yeah.
Let me try to do just a little bit more, remove some more of this hiss. Now let's try it one last time, then I'll quit modifying your EVP. Yeah. I think it was better before I did
Yeah, I
that
do
second
too.
reduction.
So, yeah, undo.
And you know how it's said in such hate. I mean, it's just it's so hateful. I mean, just when you sit there and listen to it, I can listen to EVP 1,000 times and still get goosebumps whenever I hear it.
Yeah. Well, especially when they're said so forceful as that one was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like I'm going to kill you or you're going to die, or it's just
Well,
saying
look.
just leave me alone. You know?
Hey, let me tell y'all a little story, and I said this Tuesday night, and I left it out a while ago. That night, the first night that we arrived there, whenever I actually saw this thing, the night whenever we were getting ready to leave, right, and we walked outside, and the sky was clear. There was not a cloud in the sky. There was literally a black cloud on top of her house. And look, you can't make this stuff up. The wind was blowing 60-mile-an-hour plus. I remember it was blowing so hard outside that it knocked the patio furniture off the back. And me and my fellow investigator at the time, we were trying to talk to one another, and we couldn't hear each other talk. And we just knew it was time to get out of there. So we got in the car, and the car we was in had power locks. And the power locks just kept clicking up and down, up and down, up and down, until we basically got into town. And I remember after that, I stopped the car, and I was told my partner at the time, I said, I don't want to go back to that house. I'm not going to lie to you. I am terrified of that house after what I saw. But at the same time, I knew that we had to help those 3 girls. That was the main thing. There was 3 innocent little girls that was involved in this thing, and I had to go back. So I pushed myself to go back. But look, that ride back to that house the second night, that was the longest ride I think I've ever took in my life.
Sorry, I reduced my volume. I could definitely believe that, but you know what? When I started getting into the paranormal and everything, I would go around and I'd tell everybody one of 2 things is going to happen. I said, I'm going to see a ghost, and I'm either going to go running out of that place screaming like a little girl and never look back, or I'm going to run towards whatever the hell I just saw and try to figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
Fortunately,
Well, you see that figure that I seen. Now, when I seen the boss was solid form. I mean, it was just like a man standing there. You could not see through him. And I think the experience that I experienced before that, I had seen a spirit of a little boy. And it was not one of those scary type of encounters. It was more like, wow, this is real, you know. It was a really peaceful encounter that I had with this little boy. And, you know, at that time, of course, I was doing paranormal investigations for almost a year at that time, and I believed in what I was doing, but there's always that little bit of doubt in the back of your mind until you actually see this with your own eyes. You know, your instruments tell you one thing, and you're always like, well, could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be this? But until you actually see this stuff with your own eyes, I believe that most people are going to have doubts in it. But once you see it, there's no turning back once you see it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now, let me ask you, one of the things that a lot of people ask me when they find out I do paranormal research, they always ask me, isn't it scary? And I always tell them that the irony of that is when I'm on an investigation and I'm setting forth and I'm focusing on the investigation, I'm so focused that I really don't get scared because I'm expecting anything and I'm looking for everything. Are you the same way?
I think there's a little switch in our heads.
Yeah,
Quite
you know, it's
frankly.
kind of like that night that I actually saw the boss. I didn't even realize I got scratched that night because I was in investigator mode. And I've been physically attacked a couple times. That was I was physically attacked about a month or 2 ago. I got slapped or punched in the face. And Chris, if you're listening, could you send them that short clip of that? We're in a house in Hesmer, Louisiana. We were actually on another location, and the kids were staying at another location. Well, in the middle of our investigation at the first location, the homeowner gets a call that their children and the babysitters are in their SUV and they won't go back in the house because their little son had just witnessed something and was going crazy. So me and Chris immediately leave and we go to the second location, and we're in there, and me and Chris are two big guys, and we come barging up in there like there's no tomorrow and start, just going at it. And I felt something grab my leg. And at that time, you'll hear a little girl, EVP, she says, "Stop it." And that was one of the claims, that there was a little girl there. And he's fixing to send it right now. There was the claims of a little girl there. They actually caught an EVP of a little girl, like, in the bathtub saying, "Wash my toes." Now, that sounds funny, but this was a very clear EVP. And when we went in that night, I felt something grab my leg, and I jerked, and I responded. I was holding the camera at the time, and you'll hear this little girl saying, "Stop it," like that. Same voice, same distinct voice. And shortly after that, Chris feels a cold spot on the ground, and he's like, "Dude, feel this, there's a cold spot," okay? And we're getting overexcited,
Mm-hmm.
And I stick my hand down there, and when I lift my head up, it felt like, you don't actually feel the punch itself or the slap itself, but you know how afterwards when the pain rushes and the blood rushes to the side of your face?
Yep.
I started experiencing that, and I told Chris, I said, "Chris, I think I just been punched, dude." And he took, he turned everything off, and I still had the camera in my hand, but he shined a flashlight, and he took a picture. And you can see the whole side of my face is starting to turn black and blue. So
Wow.
that was, look, to be honest with you, that was a terrifying moment for me, but it was awesome at the same time. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It was horrifying, but at the same time, it was awesome.
Yeah, I think that happens.
It's just one of those things to where, even though you was physically attacked, okay, well, now you know one thing. Now you know there's something truly here. So now you can figure out what it is, where it come from, so you can get rid of it. And I'm glad to say that after the investigation, I cleansed the house. I used sage, and then I used dragon's blood. They have not had any paranormal activity whatsoever since then.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I think that your comment on that actual physical contact was pretty dead on as far as what it feels like. I have also been attacked. And when you're in the moment, it like almost doesn't even dawn on you.
Right.
Until the aftermath, when either you get a welt or you're bruised or scratched, or in some instances I got shoved down a set of stairs. So yeah, in the moment you kind of go, "What was that?" How do you wrap your mind around it?
I truly believe in it, and especially for me, when I enter a home, I try to portray myself as no fear, because especially if you're going into a demonic situation, and if you show fear of any kind, then that's dangerous for you. These things, if they find any kind of fear or weakness in you, they're going to come after you. So I try to stay as tall as I can, and because I don't want nothing attaching themselves to me, for one, but I try to, be bulletproof, so to speak, while I'm there, because, that's my job. If I get scared and I run out of there, I'm not helping nobody. The number one thing that goes on in my mind when I'm at an investigation like that is I have to help these people. That's why I always say, when you do like a plantation or something, that's a worry-free investigation. You can actually sit back and have fun.
Yeah, I like your description of that. That works really well. And it's pretty accurate as well. But yeah. So tell me, have you ever had a demonic attachment as a result of your investigations?
You know what, guys? I'm going to be honest with you. I just had to do an exorcism on myself here recently. I think it goes back to a house in Denham Springs that we done. I started having nightmares of people being impaled. Very violent, very bloody. And then it got to where my attitude was changing. And when I really noticed what was going on was, whenever I would pass a church or hear anything to do with prayer or whatever, I would literally get angry. And I know that's not me, so I knew right then and there that was the red flag for me. Mm-hmm. And I went and I contacted somebody. Well, I got Chris, the founder of Paranormal Society of New Orleans, and without him, look, I don't know what I would do. So he contacted a voodoo priestess in New Orleans, and she told him the steps that I needed to go through to rid myself of it, and I did. And look, I feel so much better now. But I think that I think this is something that all paranormal investigators should be aware of. This is one of the things that you have to accept if you're going to do this. It's that you're playing with fire. You're going to get burnt. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
But fortunately for me, I was smart enough to pinpoint what was going on within myself instead of just blowing it on the back burner and letting it get built up and get the strength that it needs. And how I was able to, I even got the name, I even was able to identify it because I was in my truck going home from work and I started praying out loud and I said, I demand you to identify yourself. I didn't hear a word. I didn't see anything. In my conscience, a name popped up. And I was driving, so I contacted Chris, and I said, Chris, I want you to look and see if this name exists. And when he texted me back and gave me the description of what it was everything that I was experiencing. So I knew right then and there I could not blow this off. That is not coincidence. You know, after doing paranormal investigations for a while, I personally have come sensitive to things. The more you investigate, the more you learn to be sensitive on things and be aware of where things are and, you know, different characteristics of things. So I was able to identify it, and thank God that I did, because if I would have just been inexperienced and blew it off, then something bad could have really happened there.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And a lot of times, too, it takes someone else to be able to point out the fact that you're really not in your right mind. Mm-hmm. So I think being keen on your own personal, you know, how you were acting personally, shows that you're in tune with the entire idea of demonic possession.
Oh, yes. Look, demonic possession is very real. And it's not to be taken lightly. And I say this to any paranormal team that may be listening out there tonight. Guys, look, ghost hunting is fun. Paranormal investigation is where it needs to be. And you need to learn what you're doing. Knowledge is power, guys. If y'all go in there and playing around and not knowing exactly what you're doing, somebody can get hurt very, very badly. It's not a game. You know, it's very real. It's there. And it is something that everyone needs to be aware of.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and I couldn't agree more. I've come across quite a few people that you know, get in there and get to horse playing around. They're not taking it seriously. They just don't understand, you know, that what they're dealing with are some not so nice spirits, you know, that literally might follow them home, possess them, and they just don't seem to want to take it serious. So, you know, you learn how to put your filter up and know who you can and cannot investigate with. So
right, and too, you know, I look at it this way. Let's just say you're dealing with a spirit. Let's just say you're dealing with an earthbound spirit. If he was a butthole in life, he's still going to be a butthole in death. That's just the way it is. You know, his spirit, his personality, who he is still there. He just doesn't have a body anymore. Exactly. And if he was a bad person in life, he's going to be a bad person in the afterworld. And people need to understand that.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
Yeah, and that kind of falls back to what we were saying about earlier is people need to learn how to work together instead of against each other. Because you are going to come across those situations where you're in over your head. And if you're too ignorant to say, I'm in over my head, I need help, then you shouldn't be doing this in the first place.
Oh, exactly.
Exactly. I mean, take what happened to me for an example. If I would have been all about myself and not got connections in other places, what would I have done? You know, I was able to cure myself because I did decide to make connections outside of my own group. And, you know, it could have possibly saved my life.
Oh, yeah.
That's why people need to understand it is not about seeing who can get the most evidence, who could be the most popular. It is about helping people. And sometimes you have to go outside your group to seek help or information to be able to advance yourself to help people.
Boy, if that's the one thing people get from this show that you've been on tonight, I hope that is it. You know that you have to rely on other people either you know, lend a hand and pick you up or, you know, to help you out in some form or fashion. It's awesome.
You're right. I mean, look, when you do this kind of stuff, you have to live your life right, because look, if you're into drinking and partying and doing drugs and living a negative lifestyle, and you decide to go out there and play with the spirits, that's not a good combination.
No.
You have to live your life right in order to be able to protect yourself from these things. You have to be aware of what and who you associate yourself with, because once you start paranormal investigating, you become a beacon. Spirits are going to be attracted to you, and unfortunately that is a door you will never be able to shut, because
Agreed.
It's already been opened. So you have to be aware of what's going on around you at all times, not just in the paranormal realm, everyday life. You have to be aware and do not get yourself caught up in these things, because if you do, they're going to find you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, once you've opened yourself up, you don't only get just the good spirits. You get the mediocre and you get the evil ones as well.
Oh, yes, you do.
Good point.
Yeah, I've known some evil people in my life.
And he's staring me down right now.
I think they got more in them than I think they do good sometimes.
No, it was funny earlier when you were talking about, getting the haircut, the punk look and the tattoos. There's a couple people that came right to mind when you mentioned that, but unfortunately I'm not going to say any names because I don't think it would do any good, but yeah, I know some people that fit that profile just perfectly.
You know what I get a lot down here is people always comes up to me and they say, "Oh, Ghost Hut, man, that's child's play. That stuff ain't real. There ain't no such thing as a ghost." And my answer to them is good, because you're better off not knowing what's out there. If people live their lives.
Yeah.
And they live it through a tunnel, and they're not aware of the dark forces that's out here in this world. If people knew what was really out here, they would go crazy. So they are better off not knowing, and that is the one thing I always say. You're better off not knowing. That's fine.
Well,
if you don't want to believe, you're better off. Sometimes I wish I wouldn't have got into it, but you know what? Now it's a part of my life. And I have such a passion for it that I can't turn it off. I will never be able to turn it off.
Yeah, well, I think the paranormal world itself is probably better off without that kind of individual in it, too, so.
Yes, it is.
Well, they say that spirits and ghosts are around us all the time, everywhere we go. What do you think the main reason why most investigators like to go out late at night in the dark?
Less contamination would be my opinion, but...
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you on that.
Now, do you know anything about ham radios?
Ham radios, I know a little bit about ham radios. Actually, I had one whenever I was a child, but that's about as far as my knowledge goes.
Now, one of the things that I've learned is that during the daytime, the signal cannot travel very far at all. But once it starts getting later in the evening, that signal can actually travel a larger distance. It has something to do with the atmosphere.
It's the density of the atmosphere, and you're right. I got a neighbor that had a ham radio, and I just hung at his house and soaked up everything that he was able to throw my direction. So
my question is, do you think that kind of atmospheric change can actually affect when activity actually picks up or not, or do you think we just don't notice it as much during the day?
No, I honestly think that it picks up at night. That's where I go on that, because at nighttime, things, especially in the paranormal realm, as we all know, things are a lot more active at night. And I just think that the moon, that has to do with the gravitational pull with the moon, intensifies everything. So, yes, I do feel that, at night that you do get more.
Okay. What about humidity?
Yeah, humidity has a lot to do with that down here. And that's a good point that you brought up, especially down here where we live. Humidity is horrible. And during the day, you even have trouble picking up local radio stations down here during the day. But at nighttime, when it's less humidity, it comes in a lot clearer. That's a very good point.
Well, I know that they say that spirits actually seem to be able to travel around bodies of water like rivers and ponds and lakes and things like that. And I was wondering if spirits could travel easier when there's a lot more humidity as well.
Right, but you know something else now that you mentioned water. I've had this happen in several cases that I've investigated. Most of the activity would be like in the bathroom because you have all the water pipes and stuff running underneath the house in that area. There was even one case that I had where a client would come home from work every evening and his water would literally be running. Faucets would be turned on. So we done a little experiment. We turned the water on to see if it would intensify, you know, the EVPs and the response that we got. And sure enough, it did. Chris just sent you a clip from where I got a punch in the face or slapped in the face. He just sent me a message. But the water where we done the experiment with the water, that was in the same house right there. And after that, the little girl come through clear as a bell after we turned the water on. You know, moving water creates electricity. It gives off EMF, and I think that spirits are able to pull that and use it to be able to communicate.
Right. Now, have you ever tried to utilize like a humidifier or anything on an investigation?
No, I have not tried that.
It might be worth giving it a shot and see if maybe it'll change some of the results you're getting.
As I say, we tried buckets of water.
Yeah,
really.
We had a guy
I
sitting in
have
a chair.
used a generator, ion generator before. That right there, I'm not really too sure about the results on that. I don't know if it was just because we got a cheap one or not, but I really didn't see a difference, you know, in using one. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm always willing to learn something new, and that is something that I would definitely try to use on my next investigation.
Okay, well, you're going to need to follow up with us, and we want to know what your results are.
Definitely.
Guys, I'm here anytime y'all need me.
All right, so we're going to have him next Tuesday. No. We got to give some other people a chance, too. We'll just give you your own show. How about that? You know, speaking of different experiments, Terry Lee kind of mentioned briefly about one that we did. It was at a location that was a known haunted location. And we wanted to try the Gazan experiment where they put the ping pong balls on the eyes and then the headband with the headphones, you know, sensory deprivation. But we took it a step further and we put each one of his feet in a separate bucket of water, then each one of his arms into a separate bucket of water. And then we hooked a TENS unit. Do you know what a TENS unit is?
No, I sure don't.
Yeah, they use it for medical purposes. It's like 4 probes, and it sends an electric shock through the probes, and it's supposed to help. Yeah, it's supposed to help the muscles, you know, kind of cope with pain and keep the muscles moving. Well, we stuck each one of those in each bucket of water. This guy was our human guinea pig.
How did that feel?
Well, it was even up at the highest level. It wasn't really strong enough to, you know, it didn't make him twitch or anything like that. We tried.
His new name instead of Trout, we could have called him Twitch.
Yeah, but
and then we actually duct taped him to the chair.
Well, that was Terry Lee. She just wanted to scare the poor guy, and it worked. But no, see, the biggest thing I wanted to find out from that Gansfield experiment is what it was originally designed for, and that's about loss of time. Loss of time, pretty much. In other words, when you have all your sensories taken away to where you can't utilize them anymore, the human brain uses trigger objects like different noises, different sounds, different sights, you know, the type of day or whatnot, to kind of keep track of time subconsciously. So that's why a lot of times when somebody who's not wearing a watch, they still have a rough idea of what time it is. You know, oh, it's about 9 o'clock right now. You know, it's around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. But if you put them in that type of a sensory deprived environment, they don't have any of those subconscious triggers to help them keep track. So we had him in for about a half hour, I think it was. And we should have gone longer, but there's other reasons why we didn't. But when we ended his session and took everything off of him, I asked him, okay, so how long do you think you were under for? He said, I think I was under for about 15 minutes. So, I mean, he lost 15 minutes out of a half hour with that experiment. And you hear that a lot about investigators. They're out on an investigation, and all of a sudden it's like 3 o'clock, and they're like, holy crap, it was just 10. What happened?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that little switch we flip in our heads when we go into investigation mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so going over to these files that Chris sent over, I tend to wander, obviously. He sent me 3 more EVPs, okay? He sent me one that's demonic, one that says bath EVP, and one that says stop it.
Okay, let's listen to the demonic EVP first. This was taken from a spirit box session in Denham Springs, Louisiana, which is the case that I think I ended up getting this attachment to me. He asks its name, and you're going to hear it say Damien, and it's going to go, like a growl after it. So we researched the name Damien. Okay, a lot of perspective, people think the name Damien is demonic because of the movie The Omen.
Right.
Well, if you do a little bit of research a little bit further than that, you find out that the name Damien can be demonic, but it is depend on how it is spelt. Well, unfortunately, when you're doing a spirit box session and it says his name, you have no idea how it is spelt. But the fact of all the other things that was going on in the house, we took it as demonic. I wasn't actually there when he done this, and after he heard this EVP is when he decided to contact me and bring me in because I have had prior experience with dealing with demonic cases. So he decided to bring me in after that, and we went in and done our investigation, and that's another case where we done a house cleansing, and I'm happy to say we have good positive results so far, and that's probably been a little over a month and a half now.
Good. That's very cool to hear. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and run this file. It looks like it's roughly about 8.5 minutes long. Or seconds. I'm sorry, 8.5 minutes, seconds. I'm losing time right there. All right, so let's try this again. Here we go. What's your name? Okay, did you hear it?
Oh yeah, that was a little creepy too. That almost gave me
that
the
growl
chills.
at the end just throws up red flags.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it a couple of more times just for anybody who's in chat. Just so they could hear it a couple of more times. Here you go. What's your name? What's your name? Okay. I think it was right around here. Let me see.
Yeah, that's the growl.
Yeah.
Let me tell y'all a quick story about that. Whenever I went to done the investigation after that evidence was captured, I was doing a saging in the house. And the homeowner, the male, the whole night we were investigating, he could care less that we were even there. He was laying on the couch playing on his phone the whole night. Well, I done the saging of the house. I started from the master bedroom and worked my way forward. He stayed on the couch. He was fine. And then afterwards, I used what I call dragon's blood. And I find that dragon's blood is very effective. I was in the master bedroom doing the dragon's blood, and next thing I looked, he's standing in the hallway, and he crosses his legs and his arms, and he leans up against the hallway. And I tell you, I could not see no white in his eyes whatsoever. His eyes were like black. And I asked him, I said, "Are you okay?" He never blinked, never moved, never nothing. He just stood there and stared at me like he wanted to physically hurt me. So I asked him again. I said, "Are you okay?" Again, I got the same reply. Finally, I got a little bit forceful with him, and I said, "Hey, I'm talking to you. Are you okay?" And he just looked at me like he wanted to kill me, and he just shrugged his shoulders, and he walked away. Well, I knew right then and there, I better do something, So I got what I use as a warfare prayer, and that was the first time I've ever used it that night. And I got his wife to stand in the living room. He was on the couch at this time, and I said, "Read this. Do not stop reading it, and no matter what happens, do not stop until it is done." Well, I went and I finished doing the saging in the house while this was going on. Well, Chris was there supervising, what was going on in the living room. And they say that this guy was he's sitting on the couch, right? And he's just kind of like rocking back and forth like he's in severe pain, rubbing his hands through his hair, wiping his face with sweat and everything. And he was really, really, really agitated. And they made her continue to say it. And then after the warfare prayer was done, he just kind of hung his head down, and he stood there for about 30 seconds. By this time, I was done doing what I was doing, and he just kind of looks up at us and like, why are y'all all looking at me? So he had, no concept of what went on. Now, like I say, this guy had absolutely no interest in us being there whatsoever. He could care less. But whenever I started doing the blessing in the house, he started acting up. Now, Chris told me prior, one of his old team members done a blessing in the house before, and whenever they done it, they all went outside. Everybody in the house went outside. They wouldn't stay in the house whenever they were doing the saging. Well, we made them stay in the house this time. And, that's what occurred. And that was one of those moments, too, for me to where I think I was about to be physically attacked. I'm a big boy. I can handle my own. But just to look at this man's face, he wanted to hurt me. And, it was just one of them surreal moments to where, again, you realize that this is not a game. This is a very serious deal. And if you don't take the right measures and know what to do, you're going to get hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And one of the things you mentioned is, that you could handle your own, but you're looking at him, and he was intimidating. Spirits really don't care how big you are.
Exactly. When you're looking at another man's eyes, and that's not his eyes looking back at you, that's a very scary thing.
I completely agree. But at the same time, you don't know whose eyes those are.
That's right.
You don't know because he could have very easily have attacked you instead of turning around and walking away, but he chose to turn around and walk away.
Right.
So that kind of raises a question of, okay, well, obviously he wasn't himself, but who was he?
Exactly.
But sometimes you just got to kind of leave it as a wonder and don't poke the beast while it's
I was going to say, I don't think I'd want it to, call my bluff.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not
I agree
always
with you.
I'm not always the brightest person, and if that did happen to me, I probably wouldn't let it go.
And I've witnessed that. Believe me, I've witnessed that.
When I do investigations, even public ones, whatever, I always tell everybody that I'm willing to put myself at risks that I would not be willing to put anybody else through.
Yes, I agree with you totally. Like my team is very small. It's me and my girlfriend, which is the co-founder, and we have a camera guy. And I use a medium called Samantha Salty sometimes. And my biggest fear is for them. A little more myself because I have a little bit more experience in the field than they do.
Right.
And I am always afraid of something attaching themselves to them or physically, attacking them than I am for myself. And I just hope and pray that if it does happen, it happens to me and not them.
Absolutely, and I agree. And it's all about research for me mentally about myself. If it's going to happen to me, okay, bring it on. If I'm going to have everybody that I'm standing with see this dark entity down at the end of the hall and they're all telling me, oh, he's pissed, I'll go right at it. Oh, you're pissing him off, he's going to knock you down, don't do that. And I'll stand right in the spot where they see him and I'll call it on. I don't provoke, but I'll call it on. I'm standing right here, I'm in your spot, come do something, And to date, nothing's ever happened to me, but it's happened to everybody around me, like you were saying, that fear. And I think
right, and you talking about provoking, that's something too that I think that paranormal investigators or ghost hunters should be aware of. If you bring provoking too far, you're inviting them in. You have to be careful about what you say and how you're provoking it, because if you do it the wrong way, you can actually invite them in. And let's face it, that's something we don't want on anybody.
Well,
Right.
definitely, you got to know where to draw the line in the sand for sure.
Same as offering your energy. I had one of my investigators one time say, "Come use my energy and do this and do that." For the next 3 days, he was so run down and worn out, he couldn't even get out of bed. Then he called me up and he said, is it possible they can drain that much energy? And I said, you bet.
Oh, yeah, they can. I mean, you literally feel like you've been hit by a train.
Right. I said, if you offer it, they're going to take it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're going to take it.
Well,
So.
unless he do like what you did and rescind the offer, which seemed to work pretty good for you.
Resend the offer.
Yeah, when we were at the Devil's Playground and you said, I'm not giving you permission anymore to use my energy.
No, that was that. Right.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that
well, I
was
don't
that.
know. I was way on the other side of the building. I could only barely hear you.
Yeah. No, I was just telling it to get its butt out and show itself to me, Yeah, it did. So, but yeah, offering your energy, do you, now I know I asked you this on Tuesday, but we might have other people who didn't hear the show Tuesday. Do you perform any kind of a ritual or a blessing or a prayer or anything before and after your investigations?
You know what? I do, but I don't. And I've learned this with this experience that I just dealt with, that I need to do it a little bit more. Here's been my approach, and I thought it worked for me, but apparently it didn't. I have a ring that I wear on all my investigations, and look, you have to truly believe in what you're doing first of all. If you don't, it's just like a crucifix. If you don't believe in Christ, the meaning behind the crucifix is just an object. Okay, so I have a ring that I wear on all my investigations. It has a cross on it, and I use that as my protection. And I talk to it, just as like I'm talking to Christ, I use it as my protection. But one thing that I have learned that I previously thought worked for me, but might not be so much now, is that I look at paranormal investigations as a job. Whenever I go to a location that has my total, I'm totally focused on it. It has I put all my energy in it. But whenever I leave, I don't think about it. I leave it there. Just like you don't bring your work home. Well, most people don't. You leave it there till you go back to your job. Well, I tried to approach paranormal investigations the same way. I didn't think about the case again until I was doing editing. And when I would walk away from the computer, it was out of mind and out of sight. And I thought that was a good way to keep from letting something in. Right. But apparently that may not have worked so well for me. But yes, that is something that I'm definitely going to look into doing more of a ritual before I leave and whenever I come back home. Now, I do sage the house pretty regularly. I do that, on a regular basis. And, that pretty much works as far as keeping stuff out of the house. But what I had was something that attached itself to me. And I need to look into that a little bit more and how to protect ourselves individually instead of just a group.
Right. And see, for me, I'm the exact opposite to date. Things can change at any time, but I don't perform I don't have any routine or, I don't do anything before or after an investigation.
Right.
And, once again, for me, I haven't really had any issues of things following me home or things sucking energy out of me or anything like that. But once again, all my investigators have. And so one of the things that I've been told this by multiple psychics, is that my mentality and my personality and my outlook on things is what actually protects me. But it's also what inhibits me from from coming along with a lot of this activity. And it's because it's not that I don't believe, because I do believe, but it's just, I'm not impressed with a lot of the stuff that other people are impressed with,
Right. You have a very strong mind. I mean, you have a very strong will.
And so it takes a lot more for me to sit back and say, okay, well, that was impressive. And so they said that that's actually what has been protecting me and preventing things from attaching to me, is just my mentality.
And I have a personal perspective on that too. I just think he wears his repellent, his paranormal repellent every investigation.
It's called Brute.
Oh, Brute. There you go, old school, buddy.
But now, do you know other people like that, or that are the same way?
Yeah, I have, believe it or not, a lot of paranormal investigators don't have a ritual. And like I say, I didn't either. I depended on myself, my strong will, and my mind to keep me safe. And a lot of paranormal investigators do that I've worked with in the past. They done the same things. And, I too have seen a lot of people that will go on investigations and they go home, and next thing you know him and his wife's into this big knockdown drag out, and she's going to leave him and everything else. And I mean, you just got to kind of step back and say, if you don't have a strong will and be very strong minded, it's dangerous. If you're weak minded and these things can sense that, they're going to come after you. And I've seen it happen to several people. I've seen several people go on investigations and they call the next day and say, look, man, I'm not ever going on an investigation again because whenever I come home, this, and this, and that happened, So it's not for everybody, and unfortunately, the paranormal thing is so big right now, and I'm afraid with the movie The Conjuring coming out, you're going to have more groups. I call them fly-by-night groups. They're just out to get a thrill, don't really know what they're doing, and I'm afraid with this movie coming out, you're going to have a lot more of these people wanting to do this kind of stuff, and it's just people just don't understand how dangerous it can be.
And see that's where we come in. That's where a lot of us serious investigators, experienced investigators, all over the country, all over the world. That's where our responsibility is starting to take place. These guys want to go out for that experience, and earlier years and years ago, when like Ghost Hunters first came out, there really wasn't outlets for them to go, events where you can go and actually investigate with experienced investigators. They would just go and sneak into these dark, dank buildings and try to do it themselves. But now you got more and more teams that are hosting public events, and they're hosting, open to the public type venues and stuff like that. So that's actually giving these guys an avenue to actually go out and learn about investigating, but learning the correct way. So I think a lot of the damage that was done is being more controlled now because of us, the ones who take this serious. We're giving them outlets to be able to go and experience it without putting themselves or anybody else at risk.
Yes, you're right.
But that's just the ones who want to go to the public venues. There's still the kids that are going to sneak into the cemetery at 2 o'clock in the morning, so we can't stop everybody.
No, you're not going to be able to stop them. I mean, it's going to happen.
Right.
And you're right. The best thing that we could do as experienced investigators is to try our best to educate them. They have to want to be educated to start with, but, our job is no matter what, to lend that helping hand when somebody comes and asks us for it.
Right. And, if they just want to go out for a good scare in the middle of the night, why don't they have year-round haunted houses? Haunted attractions,
I hear that.
I mean,
you know what? We actually got one, speaking of year-round haunted houses, we'll be investigating one here shortly. Y'all ever heard of the Mortuary in New Orleans?
Oh, I have.
Okay, well, let me explain the story to y'all. They have a local rock and roll band here. They're called Murder Case. They're like a heavy metal band. They're great people. My girlfriend's very good friends with one of the guys' wife. They grew up together. They're really a great bunch of guys. They do their show things, to give the heavy metal image. But really, when you get to know them, they're just everyday people. You don't go in their houses and see a bunch of skulls and crucifixes and all that kind of stuff. It's an average family home, So they just got signed to a major label, and they're wanting to do a video. And they want to do a video about ghost hunters. So we've teamed up with them, and they're going to go to the mortuary and they're going to do part of their video shoot there and do some filming with us in a paranormal state. And then after that's over, we're going to go in and do a true blue, full-blown investigation, and they're going to come with us, to see what it's really all about.
Nice.
Wow, that's going to be cool.
Yeah, I had to pull up their website, so I was just kind of dancing around a little bit on it.
Yeah, the murder case. They're a great bunch of guys. They really are.
Nice. Sounds exciting. You're going to have to let us know how that goes, too. Cool website.
Gee, I was going to say, there's another night booked.
Yep, there's...
And we also have... Let's see. Oh, man, we got so much good stuff coming up. We got the Andrew Jackson Hotel, which is in the French Quarter in New Orleans, coming up.
Wow, I heard about that place,
we had the
too.
Ponder Hotel, which is an old hotel that's actually been vacant for years. We've got access to go in there. We're waiting on a date on that. We got Fort Pike coming up. And we're actually going to do Bloody Mary. Have y'all ever heard of Bloody Mary, the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Ghost Adventures is the only other group that's ever been in there. Same way with the Mortuary. Ghost Adventures is the only paranormal group that's ever had access to her home. Well, being Paranormal Chris actually got it, because he's from New Orleans, and being that we're a local group, she's allowing us to go into her home and investigate, to show her support. So we got that lined up. Like I say, we're going to launch the charity event and sound it off with October. We're going to have a big party of some kind to raise money for charity. So, we got a lot of good things coming our way.
Sounds like it.
Very cool. Now, just for anybody who may have logged in or just started listening, how can people contact you?
You can contact us on Facebook, Ghost Quest, one word, Para. P-A-R-A. You can message me on there, or you can email me at ghostquestparanormal@ymail.com. Look, even if you don't need your home investigated, let's just say you're experiencing problems and you want to consult with somebody, get some answers on what's going on, you can contact me. It could be completely private, confidential. No one else has to know. Same way with investigations. Look, we do post videos of some of our investigations, but it's always at the owner's permission. We never post anything without permission, and if you would prefer to keep yours private, there's absolutely no problem with that. We do not charge. We never ask for a single cent. We do this because we believe in what we're doing, and we believe that we can help people. That's how, I have a website that will be up here shortly. It's in the process of being built right now. Actually, I went today to check on it. It should be up and running in a few weeks. And on there, you'll have links to all our videos, our bios of all our investigators, any kind of background you would want to know. I've been involved with TV shows. I've been involved in a book. I have a few things underneath my belt, but that's just play. Our main focus is to help you guys, the everyday people that feel they have nowhere else to turn to. So that's what we're here for. And if y'all need any help, like I say, whether it's just consulting or you want me to come out and investigate, or you just have some questions to ask, anything, don't be afraid. Contact me, and I will get back to you as soon as I see it.
Okay, well, be sure you visit our site real often and bring something to share.
Yeah, very well said, too. I really like the way you put that together. Now, all these investigations you're going to, I got a personal question. Is there a way, while you're at these locations, if you could take pictures of the inside and outside of the buildings and shoot me copies of them?
Sure, yeah. Yes, I can do that. As a matter of fact, I have a good bit of pictures that I'll be glad to put together in a package and send them to y'all.
Oh, that'll be
that's
awesome.
I actually have some still photographs of the house in Mount Hermon. That's from the book Out of the Darkness that you guys can check out. I have, we've been pretty good, pretty fortunate when it comes to pictures. Now, I'm not going to send you pictures of dust in the air that a lot of people think are orbs. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think that orbs are real, but there is a distinction between dust and orbs. You know, especially when they're through your security cameras, you'll see them floating around everywhere. Now, if you come across one that has a Pacific, like an intelligent flight path to it, that's a little bit more to look into. But, you know, usually I notice on a lot of these paranormal sites that people post, you know, where your average people could post pictures or whatever, and they post these pictures, and it's clearly dust, and you don't say nothing because, you know, that's what it's there for. It's there for them to put their thing out there and see if they can get some answers for it. But when it comes to orbs, I'm not a big orb fan, but, you know, even though you're not a big orb fan, you have to look at them because, you know, it could be legit. I mean, no matter what, somebody sends me a picture and I think it's dust, well, I'm still going to take the time to look at the pictures, you know, change the colors in the backgrounds, amplify it, and everything I need to do to, you know, 100% rule out that is what it is. It's just dust.
Okay. Now, I'm kind of glad you mentioned that. One of our friends out there in Pennsylvania, they're very serious, they're very straightforward, they're very intellectual themselves. And they actually did get a video footage, January, February, March, April, May, June. I had to use my fingers. June 21st, they caught this video on one of their investigations where there was a light anomaly that still has me confused to this day. And what I want to do is I want to see if I can get a link over to, I don't know if I have you on Facebook or not. I know I have your team on Facebook, but what I'll do is I'll bounce it over to Chris, and then Chris could forward it to you until we could add each other as a friend. I want you to look at this video for me and just kind of shoot Dover Paranormal some feedback on it, because
they're still wanting information from an input.
They've had some professional videographers and a lot of different professionals looking at it and getting stumped as well. And they're not big orb enthusiasts as well either, but this video, there's just something about it. Something just does not look like dust or bugs or, you know, the standard things that we would consider being paranormal.
Right.
So.
Oh, I'd be glad to look at it. Actually, I can't wait.
All right. Well, I just threw it up on Chris's page, and maybe when you see it, you can click on my name and add me as a friend, because I don't think we're friends on Facebook. We're not friends.
I sure will.
I'm insulted. I can't. Just messing with you.
I guess that's where I come in. I could have suggested you, right?
Yeah,
that's right. We can always use more friends on Facebook.
She likes her contacts to be her contacts. That's just all it is. You know, I could do the talking.
That's why she's your right-hand woman.
Exactly. So, well, hey, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight and sharing your information with us, sharing your insights with us. Man, we're anxious to get you back on the show and hear about some of these upcoming events and investigations. And those offers I threw out earlier with the videos, with the audio editing, everything. If you want some help and I can give it to you, just don't hesitate to shoot me a message or, you know, give me a call, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, pretty much the same
way. Well, what
y'all
need to do is y'all need to make y'all way down here and we'll all go on an investigation together.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah, you know, I would be all for that, but, you know, we got to consider a couple different factors. Funding is probably
the that's one. Always a big thing. Yes.
Right. And
totally understand that.
So we'll have to hold some public events so Tipa Online can go on the road and hit Colorado, Pennsylvania,
Louisiana now.
Louisiana, yeah. I think England wanted us out there
yeah.
too. So.
Yeah.
Well, man, I would love to go over there.
Yeah.
Hey, look, real quick before we get disconnected, I want to let your listeners know. Look, y'all go check out the book called Out of the Darkness. You can find it on Amazon right now. It'll be hitting the bookstores here in a couple of weeks. It is a great read. It is not only just about the paranormal. The book is set up to where it is a story about a woman that is battling her faith in God and religion along because of all these things that are happening in her house. The book is not totally just 100% based on paranormal. It has a religious tone to it. It's about her battling her faith with all this dark stuff that's taking over her life. It is a great read. It is a very moving book. It's worth checking out, guys. So just get on there and order it, and I promise you won't be disappointed.
Absolutely. And one more thing on that as well. What is the first and last name of the author?
Joy Stinson.
Okay. The reason why I asked that is because when I originally did the search, there was a few different books called Out of the Darkness, and so I wanted to make sure they knew. Who
It has a gray cover on it and like a shadow of a woman. But her name is Joy Stinson. She's a new author. This is the first book that she's ever written. And down here, it has gotten so much attention. And if I'm not mistaken, it's number 2 on Amazon, I think, on bestsellers.
Wow.
It's really doing well. This is a very humble woman. Like she always says, her reason for writing this book is that she could help one person that reads this book be able to deal with and understand what's going on. Then she feels that all the pain and suffering that she experienced is well worth it.
Brilliant.
Now, do you think she would be interested in coming on our Tuesday night show and talking to us about the book and some of the experiences and how
You know
guys
what?
have-
I think she will be glad to do that.
Okay, well, we want to extend an invitation to her and you as well because we'd like to have both of you on the show so we can hear you guys interacting about, different things you remember about the investigation and about the night,
Right.
the events. So we'd love to have both of you on the show and we could really sit down and just...
I tell you what, I will get in contact with her tomorrow, and I will shoot y'all a message, and y'all can set up a date. Like I say, I'm pretty sure, 100% sure she'll do it.
All right, and
Wonderful.
we'll promote the holy hell out of her book, and maybe we could get a signed copy. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. A matter of fact, I'm still waiting on my signed copy, and I think she may be listening. So, Joy, where's my book?
Well, I tell you what, we'll get her locked on the station because we record the shows, and then we could put her on the spot.
Yeah, we have a tributary wall that we've kind of kept an ongoing thing. Speaking of which, you're now noticing what I forgot.
Yeah. We have a paranormal wall where we have different shirts from different teams, or hats, or banners, or whatnot. So,
Right.
the wall is slowly growing, but hopefully we can get that book up there, and it'd be a great combination for the rest of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and also whenever the episode of Out of the Darkness comes out, we're supposed to get a copy of it. I'll get one signed and send it to you guys.
Oh,
that would be-
awesome.
Heck yeah.
And look, I want to say this: if there's any people listening in the Louisiana area, their Horror Fest 2013 is going to be held at Southeastern in Hammond, Louisiana, on October the 26th, I think it is. If not, I'll have the right date on my page before long. You'll see the preview of Murder Case's new video coming out, and also you'll get to see them perform live. They're a great bunch of guys. And believe me, they will sit down and chat with anybody that approaches them. They're very good people. Come down, show your support, and have fun.
Absolutely. Well, Terry Lee, she's like the Facebook stalker, so.
If I have a question, all I have to do is message her, and usually she'll message me back real quick.
You don't even have to message her; just post it on your wall. And
That's right. That's right.
I told you she's a stalker, man. But hey, we want you to have a good night, and keep us posted on these things that you have coming up. Stay in touch with Terry Lee about getting your book back on the show, and
For sure.
letting us know about some of your investigations and share some more of your evidence that you've collected.
That'd be awesome.
No problem, man. I will be honored to do it.
All right, wonderful. Well, you have a good night, and we'll talk with you later.
Thanks again, Jeremy.
All right, good night.
Good
Night.
night.